What did you like about y'all's performance last week?
I thought it was a dominant performance, and I just feel like it was, I don't know, represented how we prepared in the off season, how we prepared in training camp. I think it showed up on the game just in terms of how we played with speed, how we played physical. And I thought the guys at all three levels did a nice job executing the game plan.
And obviously we've seen the stats and everything, but what do you think CD Lamb? Like, what kind of challenges he presents?
I know he's getting the ball
Yeah.
a lot. Now he's a very dynamic receiver. They move him around quite a bit. They get the ball to him in a lot of different ways, whether they're handing it to him, whether they're throwing it to him underneath, screens, deep routes. But he's definitely the main focus of them offensively. So we definitely have our hands full, and we're going to have to do a couple different things to try to handle him.
Just with the way they do move him around, slot outside, and all that stuff. How does that make him even more difficult to stop?
Well, it comes down to matchups.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're going to try to put him in positions to create certain matchups. So we have to be aware and be able to do the same things, as well as mixing different coverages. But it's something we're talking about, and something we know that we may have to adjust and do during the game.
Joe, it seems like you guys have been pretty good at developing cornerbacks here, even going back DA, some of the stuff you see from him. Like, what makes this system, you, DA, everybody, like really good at kind of developing that position?
I think the one thing with our system, first of all, I think DA does a great job. I've known him for a long time, very knowledgeable in terms of techniques. And that's why I like it, how detailed his system is. But I think we have different concepts. Like, we're not creating things every week. Within his system, there's different concepts that we can pull from that we may need versus a certain team. So I think that gives us flexibility, gives us an opportunity to confuse the quarterback at the line of scrimmage to make it easier for us.
What are some of the challenges in that
He's good, man. He's I can tell. I've coached against him over the years, and I feel like, and I was in Minnesota for 8 years, so I coached against McCarthy more than anybody in my whole coaching career. But you can tell he has more command of their system. I think in terms of his reads, him getting rid of the ball if something's not there, just the execution, the speed of the offense. It feels not no huddle, but it feels like it's moving fast. But you can tell he has complete command of the offense, and he's spreading the ball around to multiple receivers as well.
What did you like about what you saw from Will Harris?
First play of the game, loved it. You know what I mean? It's a way to start it off defensively. But Will, going back to his college days, was a versatile player. Like, he's really a corner, had size, he had speed, but he had that flex when you was looking at him coming out. And that's who he's been. I know at Detroit he played every position. Played corner, safety, nickel, dime. So there's some things he can do for us. But right now we're trying to settle him in at the safety position or the dime position. And I think that was a great confidence builder for him, especially that first pick. So I'm happy for him.
How do you feel that his experience at all those multiple positions aids his communication?
Absolutely it does. Because he knows he's been in all those positions, so he knows how critical it is to get the certain adjustments or the communications out. So he's becoming one of those guys in the back end of the quarterback of the defense along with Tyler.
Joe, when did you recognize, or was there anything that stood out to you maybe early this offseason about how much more comfortable or confident Alontae Taylor was in that role? I mean, obviously we talked about that, but he's taken ownership of it.
Yeah, that's part of it, ownership. And I've coached a lot of nickels throughout my coaching career, going way back to Tampa. And it's hard for guys moving inside because you're used to having that sideline. I'm covering, there's a sideline right here. Now you get in the slot, space there, there's space there, space behind you. So it's something you have to experience and go through. Along with, you got to fit the run like a linebacker. So I know his play was inconsistent. I felt like I could have did a better job with him last year. He embraced it. We spent a lot of time in the offseason looking at the tape. Spent a lot of time working on the specific techniques that he needed. And I just felt like that first game for him, I was so happy in terms of how he played. And I just hope that continues on throughout the season.
What did you see from Kool-Aid in there?
He likes to compete. He's in there. Now, the first play, right, he has to make sure he stays in coverage. But the one thing, he doesn't blink. The game's not too big for him. He was excited to go in the game. He went out there. He was challenging receivers. And I think that's what I liked about him. When I went to the pro day, just to visit with them and stuff like that, He's a very confident player. He's a very smart player. And again, playing in front of big crowds is not too big for him.
Did he have to, was he maybe behind a little bit when y'all started training camp just because of the time you missed in the summer?
Yes. Just from the off season, just recovering, from the break he had in his foot, and training camp. So he was catching up, but he does a good job. Again, he can regurgitate the information back to you. It's just a matter of getting on the field and going through it.
You mean just getting back into playing shape, or getting into the understanding of how to play?
Getting the reps, going out there experiencing, along with getting in shape.
Yeah.
But you have to go through it to learn it. So he's a little bit behind, but like I said, he's doing a good job, and those reps really will help him moving forward.
What would your coaching point be for a young player going into that situation? There's going to be mistakes. How do you kind of play that?
Mistakes are on me. Just go play and trust your technique. And that's all you want to do is just play the coverage, play the technique the way it's designed to be played, and let your natural ability kick in.
Joe, that play with the where Alaka got picked, what's supposed to happen there?
We just got to do a better job just creating levels. It's something that we know we're going to get. We run man coverage in certain situations, so we're going to get those type of routes. So we have to do a better job just in terms of where we align so we can avoid the picks.
There's some new personnel in this Cowboys offense. Do you notice anything different from last year to this year, just with the way they've kind of adjusted there?
No. I think it's McCarthy's system. They're going to run the offense based on how it's designed, but they have a lot of talent. And when you have a lot of talent, you got to find ways to spread the ball around.
What do you see and appreciate on the other side from Zimmer's defense?
I know the defense very well. Now, I don't spend time watching it, but just from the days going back to Minnesota, when I was in Minnesota before him, it was really Jim Johnson, just in terms of the system. It's the same system, but he's very creative. He knows how to mix up the looks. He knows how to attack protections. And, Clinton was there in Minnesota, so he knows. So we'll need to have a conversation.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.